This is the second time I'm seeing Dr. Holly. The first time I saw him, I sat in that room and I cried like a child. So I'll tell you why. It reminded me maybe of some of the regrets I had as a teacher in not standing up for my students, in not being able to put my arrogance aside, in not being able to look past my teacher-centered egoic self and make it about my curriculum, my report card, and it was never about the student. I think that's one of the regrets. So sitting there and listening to him talk, I thought, man, what was I thinking? It left me with a lot of emotional, I call distability. And then from there you say, okay, what can I do differently now? So it was really, that's what it was about. What I'm doing differently is doing what I just talked about with the French School Board when I was preparing myself for the session on decentralizing yourself from who you think you should be as a teacher. So it's a step back. So you take on the different perspective. You look at your prejudice, because to think that I do not have a prejudice is fooling myself. And I am too old to fool myself now. I am full of prejudices. So admitting that is the first step, being aware of it. And then how has it impacted my practice? And how has my practice impacted the life of my students? So the work we're doing now is, okay, who am I doing this for? Is my student at the center of my plan? Am I taking into consideration the individual and collective culture of my students? Whether they're from an LGBT community, whether they're from an African Nova Scotian community, whether they are from a family where they have had traumatic events happen to them. So it's going beyond that which I think the subject area. The focus is on the student. It should always be the student. And so going past what I learned in university was how to teach a subject and focus on how to teach the soul in front of you is the huge difference that I'm coming to terms with in my teaching. What it has done, it's created that shake, that emotional move that we need for people to start thinking. One of the things we talked about in the session is, do you know who does not have a choice? The student in your classroom. The student did not choose the parents, did not choose the teachers, did not choose the course or the subject. So what we have to focus on is, what are we doing well for the student? How is the student responding to what it is to our practice? When we don't ask these questions, when we don't bring about the change, I think it tells on us on long term as a society. And so it was just shaking and saying, you know, what are our options here for the students? They are the only ones without the choice. The adults, we can walk away anytime. But no one chooses autism. No one chooses Down syndrome and say, catch me. Understanding that the child comes to you and just says, I just want to learn. Can you see me? Can you teach me? Because I'm also here to teach you. So I'm hoping that we were able to ask those questions of teachers and educators and adults. And then the next point is, what can we do for the sake of the child that is in our classrooms?